Hello, I'm a third year at a law school in Canada. I'm about to graduate in 3 months, and so I thought this would be a good time to share with you some tips on how to survive law school. I have 11 tips, and I'll try to get through them relatively quickly, and I hope that they are helpful to you. So, the first tip is that you cannot possibly do all the readings. Um, you will have to make sacrifices where appropriate. For example, there was a class in my first year of school that I didn't go to any lectures for, but I did all the readings for. I read the textbook from front to back, but I didn't go to any lectures. That was quite a bold move, but I'm glad I did it because the textbook was written by the prof of that class, and I felt like I was able to understand her a lot better reading the book than going to lectures because at lectures she was a bit disorganized. She kept jumping back and forth between sections of the chapters, sections of the textbook, and it was quite confusing for me, which is why I elected to just read the book, and I'm glad I did so. There are other classes where the prof actually is a really great lecturer and they don't reference the book at all. They tell you to read the book, but they didn't write it. They don't really care about it. They just make vague references to it once in a while. And for those classes, you may be able to skim the readings or just not prioritize the readings. So for every class, you should prioritize something, either the lecture or the readings. And you should just gauge the personality of your professor and what they want to see on the exam. And yeah. So so my first tip is accept that you are not God. You cannot possibly do all the readings. I'm sure some people do, but I found it very difficult and I'm a very fast reader. Um, and that you will still be okay even if you don't do all the readings. And as for how many readings you may be assigned, obviously this varies from professor, according to professor, what course you're taking, what school you're at, maybe. But for me, I feel like it could be anywhere between 200 and like 600 pages a week. Um, and that's across all like 4 or 5 classes that I'm taking that semester. So, yeah, I mean, I would say an average of like, let's say 300, reading 300 pages every week. And it's like dense stuff. It's not like a novel. It can be quite draining. So, learn how to skim, learn how to learn what is important and what is not important. For example, facts are usually not that important. You need to know the ratio, the issue, basically the issue, the ratio, who wrote the decision, if the decision is still, if it still holds, what cases may be related to it. That's what you really need to know. Facts can help jog your memory though. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, what's that case? And then I'm like, oh, it's the one with like the dog and the ice cream or something. And then you remember the issues much more easily. So for me, facts is just like a way to remember the case, but usually they're not that important. Although sometimes they are important because they inform like the ratio. Okay, my second rule is to stay on top of classes as much as possible. For me, I prefer recorded lectures to like in person lectures. I really like the transcript that my school provides for every lecture. I like how you can speed it up. So I usually watch my lectures on 1.5 speed. And I like how you can pause whenever you don't understand something and you can hear it back. In real life, you can't do those things. So yeah, I'm really glad that my school has a good recording policy and I really do take advantage of it. I also hate commuting and I hate going to like 8 a.m.s or 8 p.m.s. Yeah. So if there's no participation in the grading scheme, I will simply not go to class. And that's okay. um, the third rule is to not be a snake and don't burn bridges. Basically, be a nice person. Law school is very much like high school, except to the max. I feel like it's way more cliquey than I remember high school being. Rumors spread really, really quickly. If you do something bad, people will hear about it. Your reputation is everything in the legal field. So the people that you go to school with now are probably going to be your colleagues in the future. They may be the ones making decisions on like whether you get hired at a firm or something like that. So it's better to just get along with everyone, and if you can't, just don't talk to them. And at least they can't really think negatively of you if they don't know who you are. So yeah, err on the side of caution. Try to be as private as possible. Don't let too much come out about you, and don't involve yourself too much in the drama. My fourth rule, I keep saying rule, but they're tips, they're not rules. My fourth tip is to have a life outside law school. So pick up hobbies, volunteer, read for pleasure, touch grass. Don't be that person who talks about law all the time. Don't be that person. Have an interest outside of law. In fact, if you go to law school, I'm sure you're gonna lose that interest for law very quickly because it's like all you're studying. So yeah, try to be an interesting person. Rule 5, be as healthy as possible. Take care of your health, because I imagine that going to law school unwell would suck. I know a lot of students do go through law school with a chronic illness or some kind of disability, and that must be so difficult. Like, kudos to them. But I want to take care of my health so that I don't have to balance those things all the time, because I'm sure that is very difficult. So yeah, get good sleep, eat well, do some exercise. My posture is really, really bad because of law school. Like, I'm always hunched over my computer like this, so I always take a break to do some posture exercises. So yeah. My 6th tip is to ask for things. So ask for help from professors, or even cold emailing professors for opportunities. For example, I was on the admissions committee with a professor last year, and after that I thought, we got along quite well. Why don't I ask him if he has like an RA position available, a research assistant position available? And he did. Even though there was no official posting, he was like, oh, actually I am looking for one. And so I hopped in there, and now I'm his RA. So yeah, if you just ask for something, you might get it. So ask. Rule 7, tip 7, be part of something. So at my school, there's clinical experiences, opportunities. So like ways you can get practical experience. If you have that at your school, I highly, highly recommend that you take them and you take full advantage of them. I was part of a legal aid clinic where we did housing law, and it was the best experience, not only of law school, but like of my life. It was like a pivotal experience. So I highly recommend that you do something like that. Get some practical experience if you can. You will anyway through like your 2L job, if you get one. But and 1L job, some people get 1L jobs. I got a 1L job at that legal clinic, and I'm really grateful for it. So yeah, like try to do something like that. Do pro bono work if you can. It's also a good way to figure out what you like, what areas of law you're interested in, and which ones you're not interested in. Yeah. Okay. Tip 8, make your own summaries, or at the very least, Frankenstein one together with between your notes and like maybe someone else's, or an upper year's summary. So at my school, there's a summary database. Basically, if you submit your own summary, you get access to this database where you can see every other student's summary. And that can be really helpful for exam time. But some students will just use those summaries without editing them or anything, or without verifying the information in them, which is quite risky. I like to look at all the summaries that are available. For some classes, there's like 4 or 5. Basically, copy and paste what I think is relevant and what I like, and then reformat it so that, I know where everything is, and so it makes sense to me. I've done this for every class. I don't think I've ever just straight up used someone else's summary, although I know a lot of people do. I just don't feel comfortable doing that because it doesn't feel like my work, first of all, and second of all, I just don't understand it. Like, it's not my writing, And like you don't want to be like deciphering some notes on your exam. Like you want to know exactly what you meant. So yeah, make your own summary. The best way to make your own summary is, in my opinion, on Google Docs, using font EB Garamond, because it's my favorite font at the moment, and according to the detailed table of contents in your textbook. Most textbooks will have a detailed table of contents. Either that or the professor's own syllabus. You can organize it according to that. And you should use the syllabus as well when you're revising. So just do little check marks as you go down the list, like, oh, I understand that a lot, or I need to revisit this. This is something that's not quite solidified in my mind yet. So it's a really good way of understanding your strengths and weaknesses when it's like exam season. Okay, tip number 9, get a second monitor or set up Chromecast on your TV. Right now, there's a light on my face, and that is my TV shining on me, my evidence lecture that I am procrastinating on. So yeah, if you can Chromecast on your TV, I highly recommend it because it makes it feel like a movie. I don't know. It's a boring movie, but it makes it feel more special. And also, I really hate split screening, it's just too small for me. So I prefer to have 2 monitors, one for my lecture and one for my notes. Sometimes if I don't have a second monitor, instead of like split screening, I will actually prefer to handwrite my notes. There's actually quite a lot of benefit to handwriting your notes. My entire first semester of law school was handwritten, which was a lot of work because I had to type it up again for like my summaries. So I don't really do it anymore. But I do think that by writing it by hand, I solidified it better. Like there's some studies that like if you write by hand, you'll learn better. I don't think that benefit is worth the time that it consumes, but you know, I had a fancy fountain pen. I had to use it. Okay. What else? Do practice exams where available, or just look at them if you don't have time. So I'll admit, I am a crammer. Even though I do keep up with my classes, sometimes, you know, you get a week or 2 behind and you have to cram. It's just a fact of life. You can get busy especially if you're volunteering and doing some stuff outside of law school, which I highly recommend that you do. So embrace the cram, but just don't cram too much because that's not good. So sometimes I don't have time to do practice exams, but I always look at them so I know what to expect on the exam. And if there are no practice, I don't know why I'm struggling with saying that word today, practice exams available, then you can email your prof and ask them what to expect for the exam. Basically the format. I mean, they usually do tell the whole class this, but sometimes they don't. So take the initiative and ask so you can be more prepared. And my last tip, oh my gosh, rule 11. Be concise and get to the heart of the issue on your exam. Don't be flowery because profs can see through it, and there's nothing wrong with info dumping and then making it structured later if needed. So this again has to do with your prof. Everything is subjective, unfortunately, but embrace that, accept that, and then strategize accordingly. Like, some profs will be fine with dot jots, and in that case, don't waste your time making it all pretty and structured. I know, like, on your first day of law school, you learn about IRAC. I can't even tell you what IRAC stands for because I never use it. I know a lot of students use it, and obviously this will depend on your school, your prof, your courses. But in my experience, I've never had to use IRAC on an exam because it made more sense to just do it my way and to just answer the question in a way that made sense to me. And I do pretty well on exams, so I guess it's working. I don't know if I'm like in the minority here. I'm probably in the minority here. But I think that if you're wasting time on structuring it, unless the prof is like very ham on structure, I do have some profs that are like, this needs to be grammatically correct. It needs to look nice. Unless the prof is like that, it's a waste of time. You're wasting your time, and your time would be better spent on like substantive law considerations, like just everything that you should actually say. Worry about that rather than, should I put a semicolon or a period here? Or like making it look nice, you know? I don't know. I think in the exam software that we use, you can like bold and italicize. I wonder if people do that. I don't do that. My exams are ugly as hell. Your exam should be ugly too. Anyway, those are my tips. I hope this was somewhat helpful. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know and I'll try my best to answer. Um, so, yeah, congratulations on making it to law school. Good luck. You can do it. It's going to be the hardest 3 years of your life. To this, like, and then it's just going to get harder. Okay, wait. Let me end it on a more hopeful note. Law school is fun. Even though it's challenging, it's quite fun. Reading cases with like absurd facts. I mean, some cases are really sad actually. Um, happy thoughts. Happy thoughts. Law school is fun. You learn to think critically and to question everything. You learn logical reasoning. You learn quite a lot, and I feel like it's actually a lot of fun. So enjoy it as much as you can, and also don't be that person who's like, oh, I'm in law school now. Like, be chill, be cool, okay? You got this. Okay, bye.